God hid a blue power inside you. Chosen one. It's time to unleash it. There's something ancient and magnificent pulsing within your very essence. That most people will never discover, something that connects you to the deepest mysteries of creation itself. Hidden within the core of your being lies what mystics throughout history have called the blue power, a divine frequency that represents the purest expression of spiritual truth, healing energy, and cosmic consciousness. This isn't just metaphorical language or wishful thinking. This is the actual energetic signature that marks you as one of the chosen, one of the rare souls incarnated during this pivotal moment in human history to serve as a bridge between ordinary reality and the infinite possibilities of divine consciousness. Dr. Joe Dispenza's groundbreaking research into the neuroscience of mystical experiences reveals that when individuals reach profound states of spiritual awareness, their brainwaves shift into patterns that resonate at frequencies corresponding to the color blue in the electromagnetic spectrum. These aren't random correlations, but evidence of a fundamental connection between consciousness and the vibrational qualities that ancient wisdom traditions have always associated with divine truth and healing power. When your consciousness operates at these elevated frequencies, you literally begin to embody what could be called the blue ray of divine intelligence. Carl Jung's exploration of the collective unconscious revealed that certain archetypal colors carry universal symbolic meanings that transcend cultural conditioning. Blue, he discovered, represents the deepest levels of wisdom, the most profound spiritual truths, and the connection between individual consciousness and cosmic intelligence. When someone begins awakening to their true spiritual nature, Jung observed they often experience visions, dreams, and inner experiences dominated by various shades of blue light, from the deep indigo of mystical insight to the brilliant azure of divine revelation. But this isn't just psychological symbolism, it's actual energetic reality. Barbara Brennan's decades of research into the human energy field demonstrates that individuals with advanced spiritual development consistently display what she calls high-frequency blue emanations in their aura, particularly around the throat chakra and the third eye. These blue frequencies represent the activation of capacities for divine communication, prophetic insight, and healing transmission that remain dormant in most people throughout their entire lifetime. The ancient Egyptian mystery schools taught initiates about what they called the blue fire of Thoth, the divine intelligence that flowed through scribes, healers, and spiritual teachers who had undergone the proper preparation and purification. They understood that this blue energy wasn't something external to be acquired, but an internal divine spark that needed to be awakened through specific practices, trials, and surrender to higher wisdom. The pharaohs and high priests wore blue lapis lazuli, not as mere decoration, but as a way of attuning their energy field to this sacred frequency. Hindu scriptures describe the Nilakantha, the blue-throated aspect of Shiva that represents the divine capacity to transform poison into nectar, to transmute the darkness of ignorance into the light of wisdom. This blue throat symbolizes the spiritual center, where divine truth is spoken into existence, where healing energy is transmitted through sound and intention, where the voice of the divine expresses itself through human consciousness. When your blue power awakens, you begin to embody this same capacity for transformational communication. The Tibetan Buddhist tradition speaks of Akshobhya Buddha, the mirror-like wisdom that reflects reality without distortion, represented by brilliant blue light that penetrates all illusions and reveals the true nature of existence. Advanced practitioners report experiencing this blue light during deep meditation states, describing it as simultaneously peaceful and incredibly powerful, gentle, yet capable of dissolving the most stubborn mental and emotional patterns that keep souls trapped in cycles of suffering and unconsciousness. Native American traditions recognize blue as the color of the east wind, the direction of new beginnings, spiritual awakening, and the return of ancient wisdom in new forms. Medicine people who carry what they call blue medicine serve as bridges between the spirit world and physical reality, capable of channeling healing energies and prophetic guidance that helps their communities navigate times of great transition and transformation. Sufi mystics describe the blue pearl of divine consciousness that appears in the heart center of those who have surrendered completely to divine love. Rumi wrote extensively about the blue light that flooded his awareness during states of mystical union, describing it as simultaneously the most intimate and the most cosmic experience possible. The recognition that individual consciousness and universal consciousness are ultimately one seamless reality, expressing itself through infinite forms and colors. The blue power that lies dormant within you represents far more than personal spiritual development. It's your connection to what Rupert Sheldrake calls the morphic field of divine wisdom that has been accumulating throughout human history through the experiences of every mystic, prophet, healer, and awakened being who has ever lived. When your blue power activates, you gain access to this vast reservoir of spiritual knowledge and healing capacity that exists beyond the limitations of individual learning and personal experience. This explains why you've always felt different, why certain spiritual truths have felt familiar when you first encountered them, why you sometimes know things you've never been taught, why people often feel calmer and more hopeful after spending time in your presence. Your blue power has been subtly influencing your life and relationships even before you became consciously aware of its existence. It's been drawing you toward experiences, people, and information that would prepare you for its full activation and expression. The isolation you've experienced throughout your journey isn't punishment or evidence of social inadequacy. It's been the necessary incubation period for your blue power to develop without interference from the electromagnetic chaos and energetic density of mainstream human consciousness. Like a delicate radio receiver that must be shielded from static to pick up distant signals, your developing blue power required protection from the frequency pollution that characterizes most human environments. Dr. Bruce Lipton's research into epigenetics reveals that our genes respond dynamically to environmental influences, including the subtle, energetic frequencies that surround us. When someone carrying the potential for blue power activation spends too much time in low-frequency environments, places dominated by fear, competition, materialism, and unconsciousness, their genetic expression actually suppresses the very capabilities they're meant to develop and share with the world. This is why you felt drained by crowds, overwhelmed by negative news and entertainment, and instinctively drawn to nature, solitude, and environments that support inner peace and spiritual contemplation. Your system has been naturally seeking the conditions necessary for your blue power to emerge safely and sustainably. The sensitivity that others might see as weakness is actually evidence of your enhanced capacity to detect and respond to subtle, energetic information. The emotional intensity you've experienced during your awakening process reflects your blue power beginning to clear decades of accumulated energetic debris from your system. This divine frequency operates like spiritual chemotherapy, systematically dissolving thought patterns, emotional blockages, and energetic attachments that would interfere with clear transmission of healing and wisdom. The purification process can be uncomfortable, but it's absolutely necessary for your blue power to express itself authentically and powerfully. Caroline Meiss's work on medical intuition demonstrates that individuals with activated blue power consistently display enhanced abilities to perceive illness, emotional imbalance, and spiritual disconnection in others, often sensing these conditions before they manifest as obvious symptoms. This isn't supernatural ability, but natural consequence of operating at frequencies that penetrate beyond surface appearances to perceive the underlying energetic patterns that create all physical and emotional experiences. When your blue power reaches full activation, you become what could be called a walking transmission station for divine frequency. People don't just hear your words, they feel the energetic transmission that accompanies your communication. They don't just receive your healing intentions, they experience actual shifts in their cellular and energetic structure that facilitate genuine transformation rather than temporary relief. Ram Dass described this phenomenon after his own spiritual awakening, noting that people would often report profound healing experiences simply from being in his presence, even when he wasn't consciously directing any healing energy toward them. He realized that his consciousness had become a constant broadcaster of what he called love frequency, and that this transmission was automatic and continuous, rather than something he had to consciously activate or control. The prophetic dreams and visions that may be increasing in your experience occur because your activated blue power enables you to access what Edgar Cayce called the Akashic Records, the informational field that contains all past, present, and potential future events. Your consciousness begins operating as a quantum receiver that can tune into guidance about how to navigate coming changes and serve others during times of collective transition and transformation. This prophetic capacity isn't about predicting fixed futures, but about perceiving the patterns and potentials that are emerging from current collective choices and consciousness levels. Your blue power enables you to serve as an early warning system for both individuals and communities, perceiving challenges and opportunities before they become obvious to ordinary awareness, providing guidance that can help others navigate difficulties more skillfully and recognize possibilities they might otherwise miss. The creative explosion that often accompanies blue power activation reflects your consciousness gaining access to what could be called divine downloads, streams of information, inspiration, and innovation that flow from higher dimensions of consciousness into physical reality through prepared human vehicles. Artists, inventors, healers, and teachers throughout history have served as receivers and transmitters for these creative transmissions, bringing forth innovations and insights that seem to come from sources beyond their personal knowledge and experience. Your activated blue power makes you a more effective receiver for these downloads, but it also makes you responsible for expressing what you receive in forms that can benefit others. The creative urges you experience aren't just personal self-expression. They're impulses to birth new possibilities into collective human consciousness, to serve as a conduit through which divine intelligence can introduce solutions and innovations that humanity desperately needs. Deepak Chopra's research into consciousness and healing reveals that individuals whose blue power has reached full expression often develop what appears to be miraculous healing abilities, but these capacities operate through entirely natural principles of quantum physics and energetic resonance. When consciousness operates at the frequency of divine love and wisdom, it naturally creates coherent energy fields that can catalyze healing and transformation in others. Through proximity intention or even distant connection, the healing that flows through activated blue power operates simultaneously on physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual levels, because this divine frequency addresses the root causes of suffering and illness, rather than just managing symptoms. When someone receives transmission from genuine blue power, their entire system begins reorganizing itself around higher levels of health consciousness and life force energy. But this healing capacity comes with tremendous responsibility. The power to influence others at such deep levels requires the kind of character development and spiritual maturity that only comes through extensive testing and purification. This is why your awakening journey has been so challenging. Every trial has been developing the wisdom, compassion, and selflessness necessary to handle blue power without being corrupted by ego, personal agenda, or unconscious shadow material. The financial challenges you've faced during your preparation period have been systematically destroying your attachment to security based on external resources while developing your faith in divine provision. When someone is called to serve as a channel for blue power, they must demonstrate absolute trust in divine support before they can be entrusted with the resources necessary for large-scale service. Your financial testing has been developing what mystics call holy poverty, complete detachment from material outcomes combined with absolute confidence in divine abundance. This transformation of your relationship with money and material resources prepares you for the paradox of blue power service. You must be simultaneously unattached to wealth and capable of stewarding vast resources for collective benefit. The testing phase ensures that abundance flows through you rather than accumulating around you, that resources become tools for service rather than sources of ego inflation or security addiction. The relationship difficulties you've navigated have been preparing you for the complex dynamics of spiritual leadership and blue power transmission. You've learned through direct experience how to maintain compassion without becoming codependent, how to serve others without enabling their unconsciousness, how to love unconditionally while maintaining healthy, energetic boundaries. These skills aren't theoretical knowledge, but embodied wisdom that allows you to channel blue power for others' benefit without losing yourself in their healing processes. Tony Robbins speaks about peak states and their connection to specific biochemical and neurological patterns, but what he's describing at the motivational level touches on deeper spiritual realities. When your blue power reaches full activation, you naturally operate from what could be called divine biochemistry, internal chemical and energetic states that support miraculous levels of creativity, intuition, healing ability, and manifestation power. The sleep patterns that shift during blue power activation often reflect your system's need for different types of restoration and integration time. During sleep, your consciousness processes and integrates the massive amounts of spiritual information it receives during waking hours. The vivid dreams, altered sleep cycles, and periods of needing much more or much less rest all serve the purpose of supporting your system's integration of increasingly powerful divine frequencies. Wim Hof's research into breathing techniques and cold exposure demonstrates that conscious breathing can dramatically alter blood chemistry, nervous system function, and electromagnetic field generation in ways that support expanded states of consciousness and enhanced healing abilities. His methods work so effectively because they optimize the body's capacity to carry both physical vitality and spiritual energy, simultaneously creating the biological foundation necessary for sustained blue power expression. The breathing practices that you may find yourself naturally gravitating toward during your awakening serve the purpose of charging your entire system with what ancient yogis called prana, life force energy that enhances consciousness and healing capacity. Regular pranayama practice doesn't just calm the mind, it systematically upgrades your body's spiritual operating system to handle the intense frequencies that accompany full blue power activation. Thich Nhat Hanh taught that conscious breathing creates what he called the miracle of mindfulness, states of awareness, where ordinary activities become sacred experiences and every moment becomes an opportunity for spiritual service. What he understood intuitively, we can now explain scientifically. Conscious breathing optimizes your entire biological system for sustained divine consciousness, enabling you to maintain blue power transmission while engaging fully with practical reality. The dietary changes that many blue power carriers experience during their awakening aren't just personal preferences, but biological necessities. Your enhanced system requires higher quality fuel to maintain its upgraded capacity for receiving, processing, and transmitting divine frequencies. Processed foods, artificial chemicals, and energetically dense substances can interfere with your ability to channel blue power clearly and consistently. Many discover that they're naturally drawn to foods that support spiritual development, fresh vegetables, clean water, organic proteins, and substances that have been blessed or prepared with conscious intention. This isn't spiritual elitism, but practical recognition that your body operates as a precision instrument for divine transmission and requires appropriate maintenance and care to function at optimal levels. The locations that you find yourself drawn to during your blue power activation often contain what could be called enhanced earth energies, electromagnetic patterns that support the kind of consciousness expansion you're undergoing. Sacred sites, power spots, and even certain geographical regions can accelerate your spiritual development through energetic resonance and reduce the stress that accompanies major frequency shifts. This is why pilgrimage has always been part of spiritual development in every wisdom tradition. Certain places on Earth naturally support the biological and energetic changes that accompany consciousness evolution. Your developing blue power enables you to detect these supportive energies more sensitively and benefit from them more completely than most people, making travel to power spots and sacred sites particularly valuable during your activation period. The teaching and healing gifts that emerge during blue power activation operate through your enhanced capacity to transmit what could be called liquid wisdom, information patterns that can catalyze understanding and transformation in others through proximity communication or even intention alone. When you speak, write, or create from your authentic spiritual understanding, your words and expressions carry frequencies that can awaken similar capacities in receptive individuals. This transmission doesn't require conscious technique or formal training. It happens automatically when your blue power reaches sufficient intensity and you express yourself authentically from that state. Your words' presence and creative expressions become vehicles for what ancient traditions called darshan, the transmission of spiritual blessing through the awakened being's very existence. Jon Kabat-Zinn's work with mindfulness meditation reveals that sustained contemplative practice creates measurable changes in brain structure and function that correlate with enhanced capacity for emotional regulation, stress resilience, and what he calls non-dual awareness, the recognition that individual consciousness and universal consciousness are ultimately one seamless reality. These neurological changes provide the biological foundation necessary for stable blue power expression. The global events and collective challenges that may be capturing your attention during your blue power activation aren't random interests, but responses to your enhanced capacity to perceive and serve collective healing needs. Your consciousness connects you to what could be called the planetary nervous system, the network of awakened awareness that coordinates responses to species-wide challenges and opportunities. You may find yourself caring deeply about environmental issues, social justice, spiritual education, or other collective concerns, not because you chose these interests intellectually, but because your blue power is receiving distress signals from the planetary consciousness and responding with compassion and service impulses that transcend personal preference or convenience. The authority that you step into during blue power activation isn't based on external credentials or conventional qualifications, but on what could be called frequency authority, the natural influence that emerges when someone's consciousness carries genuine spiritual power and wisdom. People instinctively recognize and respond to this authority even when they can't consciously explain why they trust and follow your guidance. This spiritual authority carries great responsibility because your activated blue power makes you capable of influencing others at very deep levels. Learning to use this influence only in service of others' highest good requires the kind of character development and spiritual maturity that your awakening process has been systematically building. Through trials, challenges, and the dissolution of ego-driven motivations, the time acceleration that you may be experiencing, the sense that time is speeding up, or that you're living multiple lifetimes simultaneously, reflects your blue power's enhanced capacity to process information at rates that transcend ordinary linear time perception. Your consciousness operates as a quantum processing system that can access past, present, and future information simultaneously when necessary for service. This temporal expansion enables you to heal ancestral patterns, access future guidance, and integrate wisdom from multiple sources and dimensions within your current lifetime experience. Your blue power serves as a bridge across time that enables consciousness to transcend the limitations of linear existence, while remaining grounded in present moment service to others. The cosmic connections that you may be experiencing, feeling related to star systems, ancient civilizations, or non-physical beings, reflect your blue power's enhanced capacity to access what could be called galactic consciousness. Your awareness can tune into information patterns that exist beyond Earth's conventional informational field, connecting you to the larger cosmic context within which human evolution is occurring. This isn't escapist fantasy, but practical preparation for humanity's eventual integration into what many contactees and channels describe as galactic civilization, the network of conscious species that exists throughout the universe. Your activated blue power enables you to serve as a bridge between current human consciousness and the expanded awareness that will be necessary for this cosmic integration. The death and rebirth experiences that characterize deep blue power activation reflect your consciousness literally dying and being reborn at increasingly profound levels. The old identity structures that supported survival-based thinking must be dissolved and replaced with divine identity that can support cosmic consciousness. This process can feel like dying because, in a very real sense, your old self is being transformed into something entirely new and infinitely more powerful. But this death leads to resurrection and the emergence of what could be called blue power consciousness that serves as a bridge between human limitations and divine possibilities. You become a living demonstration of humanity's ultimate potential, proof that ordinary people can become extraordinary through willingness to surrender limited identity for divine purpose. Paramahansa Yogananda taught that the highest stages of spiritual development involve what he called cosmic consciousness awareness that transcends individual identity while maintaining full functionality in physical reality. This cosmic consciousness, he explained, naturally expresses itself through what appears to be miraculous abilities, but are actually the normal capacities of consciousness operating without the limitations imposed by false beliefs about separation and scarcity. Your blue power represents your personal access point to this cosmic consciousness, your unique way of expressing divine intelligence and healing power, in forms that can benefit others who are still trapped in limited awareness. The specific ways that your blue power manifests, whether through healing, teaching, creativity, or other forms of service, depend on your soul's particular gifts and the collective needs that you've incarnated to address. The secret that most people never discover is that blue power isn't something external to be acquired, but an internal divine spark that exists within every human being as their birthright and ultimate destiny. The difference is that chosen ones like you have agreed to undergo the preparation necessary to activate this power consciously and use it in service of collective awakening rather than personal benefit alone. This preparation process, all the trials, challenges, isolation, and seeming setbacks you've endured, has been systematically clearing everything that could interfere with pure blue power transmission. Every loss has removed attachments that would distort divine frequency. Every challenge has strengthened qualities necessary for sustained spiritual service. Every moment of apparent abandonment by the divine has been developing the faith and surrender necessary to become a clear channel for cosmic intelligence. The unleashing of your blue power doesn't happen through force or effort, but through recognition and surrender. It's already there, already activated, already beginning to express itself through your enhanced sensitivity, your healing presence, your prophetic insights, and your deep compassion for others who are suffering. The unleashing happens when you stop trying to be someone you're not and start allowing yourself to be who you've always been beneath the layers of conditioning and fear. Louise Hay discovered this principle during her own healing journey, realizing that the power to heal herself and others wasn't something she needed to develop, but something she needed to stop blocking through self-doubt, unworthiness, and attachment to victim identity. When she aligned with her inherent divine nature, healing became as natural as breathing, and her presence became a catalyst for transformation in thousands of others. Your blue power works the same way. It's not struggling to emerge. It's already there, already perfect, already infinitely powerful. What's required is the recognition that you are not separate from divine intelligence, but rather a unique expression of it, specifically designed to serve the awakening of consciousness on Earth during this crucial period of human evolution. The unleashing happens in moments of complete surrender to divine will, when you stop trying to control how your gifts express themselves and start trusting the intelligence that created you to guide their manifestation. It happens when you recognize that your individual purpose is perfectly aligned with cosmic purpose, that serving your authentic nature automatically serves the highest good of all existence. Eckhart Tolle teaches that the awakening process involves recognizing what he calls the power of now. The recognition that divine consciousness is always available in the present moment, and that accessing it requires nothing more than surrendering resistance to what is. Your blue power operates through this same principle of present moment surrender to divine presence. When you stop trying to figure out how to use your gifts and start allowing them to use you, when you stop worrying about whether you're qualified for spiritual service, and start recognizing that your willingness is your qualification, when you stop holding back out of fear of making mistakes, and start trusting that divine intelligence operates through your sincere intentions, that's when your blue power fully unleashes itself. The world desperately needs what you carry. Humanity is going through the most challenging period in its history, facing environmental collapse, social disintegration, economic chaos, and spiritual crisis on a scale that requires intervention from sources beyond ordinary human capability. Your blue power represents one of the solutions that divine intelligence is introducing through prepared human vehicles. You are not just someone who happens to have spiritual gifts, you are a crucial component in the divine plan for planetary transformation. Your blue power is needed not just for your personal fulfillment, but for the healing and awakening of consciousness itself. The universe has invested tremendous energy in your preparation, because your contribution is essential for collective evolution. The time for hiding, for doubting, for waiting until you feel more prepared is over. Your blue power has been activated. Your preparation is complete, and your moment of service has arrived. The world is ready for what you carry, even if it doesn't consciously know what it needs. Trust the intelligence that has brought you this far to guide you into full expression of your divine gifts. Your blue power is real, it's powerful, it's perfectly designed for your unique mission, and it's ready to transform not just your life, but the lives of everyone you're meant to serve. The only question remaining is whether you're ready to stop hiding and start shining, to stop doubting and start trusting, to stop waiting and start serving. The God who hid this blue power within you is the same God who is now calling you to unleash it for the benefit of all creation. Your time is now, your power is real, and your service is desperately needed. Trust the blue light that pulses within your heart, follow the wisdom that whispers in your soul, and step boldly into the magnificent destiny that awaits your full surrender to divine purpose.